Hello and welcome to the London United Filmmaker Podcast. My name is Gregory Randolph. Today, I'm speaking with Remi Moses. On the podcast, we talk about his grad film from London Film School, Saving Art, and upcoming projects he will be directing in 2025. We also talk about being a filmmaker in London. This is a great conversation. Enjoy. Remi Moses, I want to welcome you to the London United Filmmaker Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. We're just very excited to have you and to discuss kind of your journey as a filmmaker and what you've been up to recently. We were students together at London Film School, you've been doing great things with your short grad film, Saving Art. And we're just here to just hear more about kind of where you're coming from and what is on the horizon for you. So I kind of want to start how I'm kind of envisioning just these, where we kind of start with these as, what got you into filmmaking and maybe discussing kind of your journey and as far as, living in London and what that's been like, in regards to pursuing, this career as a filmmaker?
I started off probably when I was 16. A little bit before that, I was like doing photography. So I got my first ever, I think it was a single lens reflex. It was the SLR camera. And I started doing photography and I really loved it. And I really wanted to get into moving images. And then around that time when I turned 16, it was like DSLR revolution. So the new models of whatever camera I had all had the video function. Yeah. So I was doing like silly little videos with rappers on the estate and just like getting a feel of how to like film and edit and direct. And I created my own YouTube channel and I was working for Graham Daily, Link Up TV, all these little kind of big, like not little, but like really big platforms that I could get involved in and kind of like boost my kind of platform as well. And so I think that's where I learned how to basically just do everything myself, because I guess everyone's similar at that age as well. It's just you and a camera, and I was around people like Quason Matthews and Charlotte Regan, who were like at the same time as me, just kind of going around, latching onto these really like new emerging artists and giving them music videos and like just YouTube videos in general, giving them a platform to be seen. And I'd say that's where Charlotte and Quason also learned, from the ground up, was like, you have to be your own sound mixer, your boom person, editor, grader, all of that. So you kind of get a feel of filmmaking early on in that sense. So between 16 to 18, that's what I was doing. Or even later, I was probably till 21. But when I turned 21, I think that's when I started getting serious about having a career in directing and filmmaking. And then I just kind of like created like a couple shorts with my cousin and my friend. Again, just me on camera, me on boom. And that's how I learned, really, just trial and error. Yeah.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about even before, say, because it sounds like you got into kind of production, and I feel like that's always the case, is you kind of catch the bug and you just do it all, you know what I mean? And you kind of wear all the hats and, you're making movies with your friends or making music videos and you're just trying to make connections, posting stuff on social media. Like, it's definitely like, seems kind of like, that's how we kind of go. Sometimes that's how we go about it. But was there someone in your life or a movie that's particularly spoke to you when you were young that really like, kind of opened your eyes to wanting to make?
Yeah, it has to be E.T. E.T. was the one that, like, I remember when it must have been when I was like 9 years old. I can't remember actually when my age was, but I remember sitting in front of the TV and I had a Happy Meal in front of me and I was just crying my eyes out and all my chips were wet from my tears. Because in that third act, when they take E.T., boy, oof, my heart. And then after that, I was always a massive fan of Steven Spielberg, always, till this day. So I think that was the first time I really got engrossed in how storytelling can affect people.
Totally.
Yeah.
totally. Was that? It's interesting because that's a very like clear, vivid moment. Was this a? It wasn't in the theater, right? You were watching it at home. Yeah, at home. Yeah, on VHS or something like that. Yeah, for sure. I totally get what you mean there. That's a tough movie sometimes. Emotionally, it just like Spielberg knows how to kind of get you in the gut a little bit. So I totally understand that. That's very cool. Yeah. So it sounds like you were making films and you were kind of building an acumen and learning a skill set. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the London Film School experience and especially about your grad film. I was just thinking about like when we were working on like Call Your Mom with Ravenna Tran, and you were doing some AC work for that. It's again, like I think when we get to school, we're still varying our skill set and it's a multidisciplinary program at the school. But yeah, it'd be great to talk about just briefly kind of getting to school, because I also have a vivid memory of you like looking up at the school one day. I think it was one of the first times we met, and I think you were very happy to be there, and you were kind of amazed. I think you were just at the beginning of getting Saving Art together, which has had such a successful run at film festivals recently. And yeah, I just remember you being kind of grateful, it seemed like, to be there and to be a part of that experience. So maybe you could just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I remember starting, and I think I expected more from like a prestigious school. Mm-hmm. I felt like, you hear stories of film school being very competitive and, very strict, and like the tutors pushing you, and like you kind of come out as like this heavyweight director. And that first term or first year even just wasn't that at all. And I think the bar I set was like, I want to be among some of the best filmmakers in the world at this school. And they're going to chisel me and I'm going to chisel them, and we're going to like really become great filmmakers at the end of it. And the first year was just like the basics of like, what a lens looks like at F2 compared to F16. So having to go through all of that again, and when I went into film school, I think I was 28. Mm-hmm. So I already had 8 years experience filmmaking and whatever else. So all these kind of basics about sound and crews and stuff was just like, it was boring for me, so boring. I felt like I wasted my time and money. But then in the second year, things just changed, and like with the set build terms, that's where you get experience that some people in the industry haven't even had, because it's so rare to be on a film set and you have to like build the whole set and then kind of create a story in it, and like only have limited time to shoot, blah blah. So I think in that sense there was, and also I was production designer term 4, yep. And then the director. No, so I was director in term 4, and then I was production designer in term 5. So having, that new element of education as a production designer was like probably the best term for me, or best 2 terms. Just the second year was just really good, I think. Because also you get to know the upper terms, you get to work on their sets, and that's the first time any of us really work with like 20 plus crew. Yeah. And so there's a lot of like management, logistics that you get used to, and the hierarchy of crew and how to talk to people and who to talk to. And it was just fun, man. I really enjoyed it. I think one thing I've realized in hindsight is that a lot of people put pressure on themselves in term 4 and 5. If they haven't directed until then, it's like, oh, I have to show everyone I'm good, or I have to make the best thing possible, I have to submit this to festivals and stuff like that. And I think that was the one thing I was telling new people that entered the school, because you get to term 4 and 5 and you're meant to be taking on these lessons and preparing for grad. It's not meant to be something that you submit to festivals. And you have to understand that everyone on crew is doing their role for the first time or second time in their life. So you have to use film school as a kind of facility to learn and to grow and fail. You have to do that. Mm-hmm. In my term 4 film, I made a horror, and I overwrote it. So I wrote like 12 pages for like a 10-minute film. So that in the edit, I had to cut down so much dialogue, and that was a lesson for me. Mm-hmm. But also just writing horror was so difficult, especially given the restrictions of the term 4 set build. So I learned so much from that, and then that informed how I wrote Saving Art, or redrafted Saving Art, and it just made Saving Art better. So
great.
Yeah, that's something I pass on to like new students that always ask me for advice. It's just like, don't be too precious about the work you do at film school.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the process of it. And I think sometimes before school starts, you kind of look at some student films and you go, oh, I could do better than that, and then you get there and you're like, oh, it's a boatload of us, and we have to together figure this out. And just because I'm this way doesn't mean that everyone's going to have the same skill set right away. And you have to level with it, and you grow together, and the films get better. And I think you're a testament to kind of that journey, which has been great. We were discussing a little bit, just in general, and you touched on it, but just making a short film. You said you were kind of interested in like the learning process there, or teaching the learning process a little bit there. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add? As far as that, it sounds like you get a lot of potentially early students at school. I'm speaking to you about things like this. I just wanted to see if there was anything else you wanted to kind of discuss.
Yeah. I think also because I just mentioned it to you as well. I'm a programmer at Slamdance, so I get to see and like rate all these films that get submitted to Slamdance. So, and just this is just a rule of thumb at Slamdance programming is like we can only give an 8 out of 10 or above. Mm-hmm. to pass the film on for a second viewing, but we can only give that 8 out of 10 or above 1 in 20 films that we watch. So for every 20 films we watch, we give 1 pass. So, and also a lot of the films are really bad.
Yeah.
A lot of the films are really long as well, over 20 minutes. And I think this experience of watching all those films and watching some like magnificent films as well is always that it's simplicity is best in short films. And if you've got like 10 locations and like 10 actors, it's probably not going to be the best thing.
That's it. Yeah, that's really interesting. And you were saying something about even these 30-minute films. Are you noticing a lot of longer short films as a programmer?
Yeah.
Cool. Could you, that's really, I think this is an interesting subject here. Could you talk a little bit, because Saving Art, your grad film, got into Slamdance, and I imagine that's what started this conversation and got you into programming for them as well. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the experience, you didn't end up going to Slamdance, is that you did? Maybe you could talk a little bit about the experience of going to Slamdance, having your film screen there, and then also about maybe just how just a little bit about how you engage with them as a programmer and how you do that from here. I mean, it sounds like a remote working experience, but that sounds really cool. So maybe it'd be interesting to hear more about that.
I guess to start off with the programming, it is remote. It's like you have to log on and there's a quota of how many films you have to watch because I'm in a narrative shorts programming, so I think we get like at the minute it's sitting at like 6,000 submissions.
Sure.
And so I think there's around 15 to 20 programmers, and everyone's watching as many films as they can. No one's getting paid. And it's all for the love of Slamdance, really, because that festival is amazing. Like, it is genuinely amazing. My experience there was so wholesome. It was just so beautiful. I'm interested to see how that's going to change next year, because it's in LA and it's not going to be next to Sundance anymore, because Sundance is moving as well.
Sundance is moving as well?
Yeah.
Where is Sundance moving?
The last I heard, there was a short list of like Kentucky, Cincinnati, Vegas, back in Utah again, and Atlanta.
Really?
Yeah. So
why would that be? Is it just because it's getting too expensive to where it is now, or
I can't really remember the reasons, but I think that's one of them for sure.
Sure. That's too bad, because that's a landmark area, but I guess New Pastures is good as well.
The Egyptian was like, when I went there, I made sure I got a picture outside the Egyptians, because it's just legendary.
Yeah. That's really cool, man.
There's just Slamdance was created in spite of Sundance.
Sure.
And it was meant to be a home for filmmakers and films that never got into Sundance.
Okay.
And it's now a place that has so much power, and it can like really boost you. And so one of the ethos of programming is, does this film need Slamdance? Because sometimes you have you have a film that's like, you know, £100,000 or dollar budget with like some of the most A-list cast actors, and it doesn't need Slamdance. It probably is going to do a lot well elsewhere. So that's also something. It's like discovering new talent, and the films that I watched at both festivals, Slamdance and Palm Springs Festival, like those festivals are the best selections of short films I've ever seen in my life.
Cool.
Just 3 films from Slamdance that all won awards was The Steak, Fishing, and Fettyland. And those 3 films seared into my brain. It's so good. And also The Steak and Fishing are in one room. Okay. It's just 2 actors. Fettyland is like 4 actors, but it's kind of like rural. It's kind of like these what's the fentanyl users, addicts, and they've got like their own little kind of friendship group of like 3 or 4 people, and it's like semi-documentary, almost feels fiction based. It's just beautiful work, and the same kind of carries over into Palm Springs, where you see like the best films, or even the films that won the awards, were only in 1 or 2 locations with 2 actors. You know, 10 to 15 minutes maximum. Kept it really neat and tidy, just really good work all around. And I think that's something I always tell people to do as well, is go to festivals, because you know, you apply to these festivals like Sundance, Slamdance, blah blah, and you don't really know what they're accepting, or you're not looking retrospectively at what they've selected in the past, which is so important. So I think it does chisel you as a filmmaker as well, just watching like the best films in the world.
You feel like going to these festivals has made you a better filmmaker, has given you a better you have to do it. There's so many beautiful festivals out there as well, you know, as I've done my own search with my grad film. It's just, there's a lot, you know, and you kind of have to pick and choose a little bit, and you have to think a little bit about you know, what you're, you know, it's like applying to schools or something like that. You know, you kind of have some ones you shoot for, some kind of ones that seem like it would be a good possibility, and then some you know, that you think you definitely get into. So it's fun to do that process, and you know, it's a privilege to have that process. So it's great to hear insights of kind of you at that stage, because I think there's so many people kind of on the other side thinking, like, not even having, you know, had the experience of kind of going through and checking out all the festivals. So I think that's really enlightening to hear about your experience there at Slamdance and Palm Springs. Sounds really, really cool. So Remi, can you tell me a little bit about just your experiences with Palm Springs Festival and Slamdance, and just you know, just what you thought about that?
I think Palm Springs was probably the best festival I've been to, and I remember because I remember seeing the schedule, and it was like, I think they accept around 350 films, which is like, I think the most out of any festival that I can remember. A lot of the UK festivals I've been to have always just had like 20 people at the screenings. It's not very big. Unless you're going to like the BFI Film Festival or London Short Film Festival, maybe even Raindance, it's like you don't really get good engagement at festivals. Whereas these big ones in the US, they really do make a huge effort in terms of PR, marketing, and like outreach for the community to kind of come to and like really engage with the short films. So Slamdance was like my experience there, because that was the first time going to America for a film that I'd created and like really soaking it in. And that was crazy. But like that experience felt very wholesome. And they kind of have this saying about being part of the Slam fam. And you know, once you subscribe to it's actually true. Like you start to feel like there's a community that you're part of. It's really, really nice. It was very wholesome and just a lot of fun. But I think also because it was in -2 weather, there's not much like stuff you could do afterwards. Like you can't throw parties and go to whatever else. It's like maybe dinner, but then everyone's going home because it's so cold. Whereas Palm Springs was 110 Fahrenheit, you know, 45 degrees Celsius. And so they organize pool parties every night, rooftop parties every night, and free food, free drinks, and also the films of the festival would every single one of them I watched were incredible.
Yeah.
There wasn't one that was bad.
Yeah.
So Palm Springs feels like Slamdance on steroids. That's
Yeah.
what it feels like to me, but also very, like, just very well connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Different cultures at each one, it sounds like,
Yeah.
but still like a great experience. It's just, it's nice to have the variety. It sounds like you got a good feel for that in the States, which is really, really cool. Cool. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, it sounds like we've got a really nice idea of what your experience was, with the film festivals and with Saving Art, and how that's all gone. My question is about, presently and in the immediate future, what you're working on currently, and what you're excited about. We're just really, we want to hear about what's next for you as a filmmaker.
So the next year for me looks like I've got 3 projects that are kind of ready to go. I'm producing Casey and A. Blondell's next short film, because we did Skate last year, and that's currently on the festival circuit. We just got our first Oscar qualifying film festival.
Congrats.
So this is Casey's first ever directorial film.
Amazing.
And like it's incredible to see her really absorb like the industry, and at this young age, especially getting to these massive festivals as well. So I'm producing her next short film, which should hopefully be shot in the springtime next year, 2025. My next short film that I'm directing, we just got BFI short film funding.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. And that's written by Ben Sarpong. If you don't know Ben Sarpong, he was in Rye Lane, the film, as the new boyfriend at the dinner table scene, and later on in the film, where he's incredibly funny, incredibly beautiful guy. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we got. I think we got really lucky, but also we're just really blessed to have such a sick team. We have Danielle Goff, who's producing it, who's a monster in the short film business and getting into the feature film business now as well. And then Nelante, who is just a rock star in terms of commercials, media videos. So we have like a really killer team on board for this short film. We're shooting probably in January.
Oh my God, yeah. Coming up.
Yeah, and that's going to be my first ever like funded short film.
Amazing.
And then
What
also,
great news, man. What great
yeah,
news.
it's great because you know what it is. It's like I've always been applying for it for the past 8 to 10 years, never got it, and you just wonder why what separates you from being accepted, and so this time being a part of a film that this is Ben's first ever script that he wrote.
Yeah.
So even that was like, we're so lucky to be getting this funding.
Yeah.
But also the team around Ben is incredibly gifted and talented. So I think it's going to be an incredible project. And then also my third project is with Picklock Productions. It's the feature film that's based on Saving Art.
Fantastic. I love it. Maybe I'm wondering, I don't know how much you can talk to us about it, but what is the next short going to be about, the BFI funded one? What's your idea?
So Ben came to me in 2020, just before the pandemic, just before I got into film school, and he wanted to make this film. And at the time, it was just a lot of comedy sketches, like scenes, like just really funny.
And Ben was your actor in Saving Art. Is that correct, or
No.
separate?
I worked with Ben in 2017 on a short film I did called Pack of Wolves. And it's on YouTube now as well. It's like almost at 1 million views.
Wow.
Really, really like great feeling of a film. I don't necessarily think it's a great film because it's so long, but the experience of making that film with all these beautiful cast members, the actors, was crazy. I met Ben there. And then just before film school, he was like, I want you to direct this. And I was like, I can't do it because I'm going to film school. And then, fast forward 4 years, we've been sitting down for the past, I'd say half a year to a year, really kind of chiseling at the structure of the film, because it is a lot of comedy. And then so I injected a lot of heart into it and gave it something to anchor the comedy to. So yeah, it's just a really, really organic process. And I remember when we first got Danielle on board, that feeling was great because we've got someone who's incredibly well known and like got such a good reputation for filmmaking. And then when we submitted for the BFI Film Fund, I remember calling Ben, was like, I have a feeling we're going to get this. I just know in my bones we're going to get this. And lo and behold, we got it.
Well, you got. I think it's a lead up, right? It's a campaign, and and with Saving Art and with your acumen now, you just got to keep beating down the door, and that's what you did, and the success is there, and you've got this amazing opportunity, to just continue the career and continue, the upward trajectory. So it's just, I can't congratulate you enough for that. That's really, really awesome.
Momentum is so important.
It is.
I remember I tell everyone this: when you get into festivals, no matter how small, promote it.
Yeah, Q&As, say hello. Speak on camera, do the, whatever it takes. Because I think it's exciting. I think sometimes you want to step away. I've done so much work at school or this or that. I need to recollect. But I think a key part is continuing whatever you want to do, whether it's just writing or writing and directing or producing, whatever it is, you need to keep at it. And I mean, if you really feel passionately about it, you will, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But sometimes I think, I think it's one thing I also think is like the kind of intuition to know when to step back for a half second and regain, get that energy back, and then to put it back out there. I think that's a key thing for a filmmaker and an artist, is to have that ability and to know yourself in that way. Okay, Remi, can you tell me a little bit about the idea behind the BFI funded short that just got approved by BFI? We'd love to hear more about what the script is about, and just hear kind of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it was originally kind of inspired by Pack of Wolves, which is the film me and Ben worked on in 2017. And I think he made it because he was trying to capture this essence of Black people just enjoying life and nothing bad happening to them, just showcasing love and life in the Black culture and the Black community. And this film is basically about 4 friends in a car, and it's basically the whole short film is the lifespan of this car whilst the boys have it. So from the first scene when the lead boy buys the car, there's a lot of excitement. The boys are together all the time. It's a real vehicle of memories basically for the film. So we see really, really fast cut snapshots of life, and the whole film is shot from the bonnet of the car. So you're looking through the windshield, and that is the only frame of the whole film. So it's very, it's almost theater, because you get to see them face on. There's no hiding. Even towards the end of the film, when he starts to feel loneliness because his boys are growing up, he's growing up, and they don't have time to hang out anymore. He's then starting to feel like the emptiness of the car. And there's nowhere to hide because you have to look outwards, whilst you're driving, and the camera picks up everything on the face. So that was kind of the heart that I wanted to inject into it. It was just about loneliness and the kind of symptoms of depression that are quite haunting and, under the radar.
Yeah. It sounds like a thoughtful idea.
It is, but it's also super funny.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it's really funny. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's great. And four characters kind of span the arc. And I imagine, do you cast for different ages? Like if it's something that happens over, or will you kind of handle it in a different way?
No, I think it'll just be like over a span of 2 years.
Okay.
Something short, because we wanna capture like the youth of buying a new car with your friends, and then like that excitement of going anywhere and nowhere with people. But then also having them a bit more mature in like their own feelings. So not making it goofy or wacky. It is really grounded comedy, about like, what happens when your uncle wants a lift all the way to Croydon, that kind of stuff. And you have to oblige because it's, he needs a lift, you're his nephew, involving family, involving the parking warden. There's just so much comedy that's injected into it. It's so funny that when it does get quite heartfelt towards the end. I think the comedy is even better.
Oh, that's great.
It makes it better. So.
Very exciting, man. That sounds like such an awesome project. And that's shooting potentially in January. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. So Remi, I just want to thank you again for being a part of the London United Filmmaker podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And I just wanted to ask you if you have any other questions or anything to add before we wrap up the podcast.
I was watching Lucy by Luc Besson recently, and there's one like piece of dialogue that Morgan Freeman says that has always stuck with me, and I think it's Lucy says to Morgan Freeman, Scarlett Johansson says to him, "What do I do with all this knowledge?" And then he says, "Pass it on." And so I'm such a big advocate for mentorship and, not gatekeeping secrets and people in industry, because, it's so hard to get a film made. It's so hard to build a career that if you know someone that can help someone, there's no point in trying to keep that person to yourself to like utilize it. I think it's always beneficial to help each other, because when I get to a place of like, power, that's power for all the people around me. It's the same for all of us. So I think that's something people need to realize and like really invest in. I think that's just my advocacy for mentorship.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you wanted to add in regards to mentorship? I know that's like something you're very passionate about. You were telling me a little bit about it off the pod, but if there's anything else you'd like to discuss about it, we'd love to hear it.
Not really. I think, my experience of mentorship's been primarily through London Screen Academy, which has been really beautiful because they're just really beautiful people that work there, and the facilities are incredible. You have like 16 to 19-year-olds who all know what they want to do with their life, and they're in this facility because they're certain they want to be producers or makeup artists, costume designers. And it's just a place where, because at 16, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it was a totally different place to where I am now. So to get into places like, film schools and academies where you can help these people that don't know where to go, after film school, after college, we can be people who guide them, because, we've had the experience of leaving London Film School in our 20s or 30s and having that experience of, what do you do post-grad? Like you searching for a job. And, for me, it's been 2 years almost now. And I have gems, I have knowledge that I can pass down to someone. Yeah. So, it's no matter who you are, no matter what stage of your career, even if you're just starting off, you can still pass down knowledge. So I think that's really important.
Absolutely. I think that goes like all the way around pretty much, is this idea of filmmaking. I do think is like, has been an industry of gatekeeping at times and secrets, and no one's allowed in unless you know somebody who knows somebody. And, I think not only going to film school, but kind of the like family, I think that's partially what this podcast is about, is kind of exchanging information and keeping an open dialogue and conversation just about what we're working on. It doesn't need to be like camera or light, technically oriented, but I think it's just great to be able to speak to each other, and that's how we're going to be most successful going forward. So I just want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. And of course. And I'm sure we'll speak again. We'll have another episode of this podcast maybe after you complete the wrap of the film you'll be shooting in January. So wish you nothing but the best. And thank you so much for being on the pod.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. All right.